Hello out there to everybody. It's just us. Here we are again. And we have a delightful and most interesting guest, and I will interview him, but I'll introduce him first in a second as soon as I tell you I am Sandra Baskin. I'm hosting today's show. Daryl Annisfeld is my co-host, and Sandy Gulliver is the other co-host. And this is John Ruane.
Hello.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've got some interesting things to tell us about your new book, and you recently did an really excellent interview on with WGN. So I learned quite a bit about you there, and this is your fifth book you're mainly going to talk about today.
Right.
It is an action thriller,
Yep.
and I was real intrigued to find out that and you could talk all about this, okay? That you wrote for the Sun Times, you
Yep.
wrote for the Tribune, and for the Sun Times you wrote about entertainment, right?
Right. Right.
And yeah, okay.
Um,
I'm going to let you take those details and just start talking.
I was lucky to get hired at the Sun Times right out of college, and I was in the sports department there. Started out as a editorial assistant, and worked my way up into becoming a feature writer. So I used to write sports features, profiles. They used to have that sports people page. I was the main contributor to that,
Yeah.
but also I had a very strong interest in Second City, going to the Second City and watching everything. So there was an actress there named Megan Fay, who I just thought was great. So I pitched the editor in the features department, to go do an interview with her. I did, and I told her how I had written satire in college, and asked her if they ever accepted scripts. She said no, but you should join the workshops. Well, I didn't know what that meant, and let me tell you, I never thought I'd ever be on the stage. I'm one of those people, never. So I went there, and Don DePolo was running the first
Hmm.
workshop back in the ETC there, and it was almost a cliche where he's got us all in a circle, passing a ball around and talking. It's like at that point I'm ready to run. So, but then he started doing some of the improv games, and I got a couple of laughs, got a couple more laughs, talked myself into going to the next week, fell in love with it, and boom, that was the start of it, just from doing an interview with an actress there. So I'm writing for the Sun Times. I'm writing, I started covering the sports media at that point. The People page, high school sports, writing profiles of entertainers for the feature section at that point. And that's how it all got going. So it was kind of a weird thing. I will tell you this, and you don't have this in there. I also wrote for the Bozo Show at that time.
Oh, did you
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
I was on it once with my daughter.
For you. How'd
so
you do that?
She missed the
so
bucket by one person.
here is Rupert Murdoch had just bought the paper, right, and then
Mhm.
I literally am just starting to write for Bozo because Bob Bell had just retired, and and then Bob Page 2 years later bought the paper saying we are going to be serious and purposeful. I'm thinking, boy, I fit right in here. I'm writing for Bozo. So as it turned out, anyway, with all of the strikes and everything that were going on, and my wife and I looking to have a family, I decided to start looking for something else, and I was contacted by Edelman Public Relations, and that's how I
Mhm.
made the transition into PR from that point. And actually, it was at that point too that I ended up writing basically like freelance writer stories for the Tribune, and then we moved to Atlanta, and I wrote columns for the Atlanta Journal Constitution. So that's how all that played into it.
Oh, that's super interesting beginnings. And to be hired right out of college is a very big deal,
Very
right?
lucky, very lucky. Yes.
Well, now you had to have skill and talent to get hired.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about what transitioned you into starting to write your books, because
Well,
the one you're
okay,
going to talk
so
about today is total five,
nine,
right?
1992 in PR at that point, and the Upjohn Company was one of the clients. And Earl Campbell, very famous football player, was the MVP in the NFL 3 years in a row. Big, powerful guy. Um, After he retired in 1988, he got panic disorder, and he
Oh,
Upjohn Upjohn would have him go around and give talks to talk about panic disorder and going to get help for it because so many men, commit suicide. And
oh
here's
yeah.
the biggest, strongest guy you ever saw. And if he can go get help, why can't they? So then they approached me and asked me would I be interested in writing a book with them. I said sure. So that's literally how I wrote my first book with Earl Campbell.
I'll be
Was
darned.
that. And my hope is that we've saved lives by doing that. It's still out there. It's called the Earl Campbell story, an NFL greats battle with panic disorder. But that's what started for me. And then after that, much later, 2008, it came out with Simon and Schuster, was Perish the Thought, about growing up in the 1960s. And that really is the book I think people will always identify me with, because it became a bestseller and it got just tremendous reviews, and especially people in Chicago. It's sort of like become kind of a cult book to some extent, but that's the one people know me most from.
And the title is?
Perish the Thought, Parish, the Thought.
Yeah.
When I was looking on Amazon earlier at your books, that's the one that jumped out at me because I can identify it too.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 60s going through the Catholic school system.
Yeah, Perish. Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely on my reading list now.
Well, it was an interesting experience because, the media really, they had me go on all the media here in Chicago at that point, and people would write me letters and emails every day saying they thought I basically wrote their life story. That's how universal that experience is for so many people across the country, not just Chicago, all across the country. So that for me, that was rewarding, that I'm making people feel good about that, and they can relive their time growing up a little bit.
You did mention in your interview on WGN that you try, or you do, write about positive things.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm all about. Is there's so there's so much negative out there. I write positive stories. A Dangerous Freedom is a positive story. It's about Dylan and Darlene Riley. He's the average man for sure, and he's a guy. It starts with 9/11. That's how it all starts. But that's such a, it's a big thing in all of our lives, and we all know where we were, and we all know how we felt. And he's basically my daughter Megan's age, so I kind of like based it on what she went through at that time. She was just in high school, so he and his friends are impacted by it. One of them decides he's going to join the Marines, even though he's like 15 years old at that point, because he has to wait, and he does. And Dylan makes the case, he could never see himself with a gun ever, and so that's what he is a peace-loving American with his wife. But then, unfortunately, after they get married, they end up on site of three violent attacks, where they're very lucky to escape from. And he makes a decision that he's going to fight back. So he trains with a former U.S. Marine. He becomes incredibly fast with a gun, and he starts confronting armed and dangerous killers, knowing that if he is not, lightning fast and deadly accurate, innocent people are going to die.
Wow.
And at this point, this is where the story changes, because then he becomes the hero. And reviewers have all said, and I think they're right, is he becomes kind of like a superhero, right? Because without a cape, because he's just so fast, and he's stopping these killers from killing innocent people. And that's where people feel really good. It feels very positive at that point in the story. As a reader, you're going to feel wonderful. So yeah, I mean, I'm all about writing positive stories, and that's what this is, a positive story.
So is he like a vigilante?
No, people think that a vigilante is somebody who goes out searching for the bad guys. He ends up, he's out there, and he ends up at places where they show up. So he's basically always in defense, just defense. He's always in defense at that point. So I think it's confused as vigilantism, but it's really not. He's not looking for them. He just reacts to them when they come.
I'm confused on the positive part of this one, because your explanation that you just gave on what the story's all about sounds scary. So the positive is that there's somebody there that will help. Is that the idea?
So put yourself in what we're all living through right now, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're all feeling that danger in our life. So he is the guy that's almost like our alter ego, going out there and stopping the bad guys. So it's like, the hero shows up. The bank scene, people get spine tingling. I've been told by readers they get a spine tingling sensation from the bank scene, because here they are, all these people in a bank, and these thieves show up, these killers with semi-automatic weapons, and boom, there's Dylan Riley. And it's like, wow. And it feels so wonderful. That's the positive part about it. I think you have to read it to see to see what I mean by that. The other part is I'm an easy read. I've had people read this book in one day, which is amazing to me. I always hear that, oh, I couldn't put it down. Well, apparently they couldn't put this down, but more than likely it's like a 2 or 3 or 4 day read, really, as opposed to one day. But yeah, I mean, it's Sandra, believe me, it's a positive story.
I understand. I understand better now, and you're right. Maybe could you clone him and send him around the country and fix all
Yeah,
the damn
that's
things we
kind
have going on?
that's kind of what people would hope, right? That's like he becomes that guy that you wish he could be there to stop all
Yeah.
these things that are going on.
Well, then we'd have to worry which side.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandy and I were talking before we started the show about all the different characters that you obviously form in your mind, which to me is a great way to either take from improv or go into improv, because you have all these different characters that you've molded, and you have a full vision of each character. Where does that come from? I mean, how do you decide who they are? Or do you use real people that you see? Do you use
something
yeah.
you said,
They're fictional characters, but they're always based on somebody usually. So I can tell you that Dylan's based on somebody for sure. His wife's based on somebody, Darlene, and then Mitrovich in here. All these people are people I know. I know them well, so I can write their characters, exactly as they are. And I've already shared it with them, and they love it, so that's all good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but the other thing about this, I'd like to point out is that, again, talking about 9/11, I have some friends who are Arabs and Persian people from Iran, right?
Hmm.
And even to this day, it's pretty miserable for them, when 9/11 rolls around. So that's why I introduced that one subplot into this, which weaves into the main plot. And it's extremely positive about, a Persian family that comes over after the Ayatollah takes over. They immigrate to America. They become Americans. They're fine. They adapt. Everything's good. Then 9/11 happens, and things go south pretty quick for them. So I basically focus on their son, who's in high school at that point, and ends up getting bullied, and then he has to fight back.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
When
Tell
you
us the name.
write your book,
Sorry, Daryl, go ahead.
do you start from the beginning? Do you start from the middle? Do you know the ending first? I mean,
Well, no,
what is the process?
It's always from the beginning. Actually, I felt pretty strongly inspired to write this book. It was I was just looking at it the other day. It was the fall of 2018, and I don't know what it was exactly, the events that were taking place, but it was like one of those moments. Boom, I have to write that book, and I did, and it was quick. I mean, Daryl, it was very quick. It was like it just kept coming to me. That's how I am. I will sit down and I write it, and then after I get through with the first draft, then the rewrites start. That's when the real work starts,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Then rewriting, reforming, filling in the characters better, filling in the plots better. It's all about the rewriting. So, but getting it down on paper, it's just sit down and go. So that's how I've always worked.
That's fantastic.
John, tell us the name and the fact that it has a yellow cover.
That's right. Thank you. A Dangerous Freedom. It's the book with the yellow cover, and actually, it's a pretty interesting piece of art that the publisher has created for this. I wouldn't be like something I would ever create, but people saying it's striking. It's something that gets their attention, which is great by me. So, and you can see Chicago is right there in the forefront.
Yeah. And somebody else wrote a book with the same name. Is that what happened?
A couple of them, yeah.
Oh,
Two other ones are out there, yeah. So yeah, you can't miss the yellow book though. The yellow book's right.
Yeah. We have, right. But we want our audience to know. We know what it looks like, and so when we post up information about this particular show, Sandy will put it on Facebook and YouTube. The name of your book.
Yeah, I'll post a link right to the Amazon.
Right to it, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say that if people are curious about it, just read the reviews on Amazon, because a number of critics and authors have put their reviews on there now, and then also readers have started to put their reviews on. So it's pretty clear what the response is to it. So, it's not an unknown.
I'll be purchasing the Parish book.
Here's
Oh,
the thought.
yeah.
Okay.
I also grew up on the South Side in the 60s. It's got to be totally intriguing. Yeah.
Which
Thank you for
parish are you
that.
talking about, though? I'm a Saint Sabina parish lady.
Oh, okay.
Right, she was there too. I was St. Rita, well, I wasn't a parish person, but St. Rita Saturday night dances. A lot of
Okay.
Southside people will remember that.
Yeah, this is St. Bede's on the southwest side. That's where I
Oh,
grew up.
yeah.
So, but it applies to everybody across the country. It's the same experience. So I'll be curious to hear what your reaction is to it.
Oh, I'll be happy to send you a wonderful review, no
Thank
doubt.
you.
I just saw Sandy hold up the, we've
Yeah.
already passed our 15 minutes.
Yeah, see how fast that went?
Mhm. That's why we kind of
So
have to.
that means we have like 5 minutes to wrap things up. And let's see, what can we ask you that we've not asked yet?
Are you
Like,
still-
What Mike Royko was like?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I know, but okay.
He was a
you
hero.
know,
He was a serious hero of mine. Still is. I mean, we used to read him all the time. Just the most creative writer, right?
Mhm.
And for
I did
me
too.
to be able to work at the paper with him was just incredible. It was just an incredible experience. So, I think by the time I was there a few years, he would go to the Billy Goat. I mean, he would go there, and he usually would be, I don't know if drunk's the word, but he had a few by that point. So he was always very nice at that point, to me. And I got to talk to the guy. It was great. And then the next morning in the hallway at 8:30 in the morning, he's walking down the hall past me with a major hangover and just would growl at me.
yeah, I know those days. Now, is he the one that had that commercial where he's sitting at a diner counter, probably at the Billy Goat, and just some derelict is sitting next to him, and Mike is trying to write an article, but he can't decide whether he should use a semicolon or a colon.
Oh,
And so he confers with the guy next to him, and they go back and forth on it a little bit. And then he agrees it needs to be a semicolon. Do you remember that?
It's funny.
I
It was
don't
really funny.
remember that.
I don't know if
Really
it's
stood
him,
out.
but I'll take that to real life. And that discussion would never happen in the newsroom.
You mean
he would.
you wouldn't ask a drunk sit next to you in a diner?
No, he was untouchable. I mean, there's columnists there you would not touch their stuff, and an editor who tried to. Like, Bill Gleason was there when I was there, and they were pretty unkind to him. And there was always this thing, he'd have this argument with the desk about that bandit, who took the that's out of my story and all that. But
Ooh.
yeah, he got pushed out. It was kind of a terrible thing. It was definitely an ageism thing, and it was horrible to watch. He used to stack up. He had his old typewriter on his desk, but he had about a pile of letters from fans about 2 feet high on his desk, just to show the editor that he had a big following. Now, he didn't have a Twitter followers back then, so that's what he did. He had it stacked up on his desk. And then when they pushed him out, I was the guy that had to clean off his desk. It was
Oh.
pretty sad. It was a pretty sad thing that went on there. Yeah.
Well, for those people who aren't in Chicago or haven't been here long, the Billy Goat is a famous restaurant.
I
Lower-
think most people know it from Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah. Lower Wacker Drive.
Mhm.
And John Belushi and Jim Belushi's father actually used to own their own diner, and that's literally what that was based on. But somehow it got transitioned into the Billy Goat. Mike Royko knew the Belushis very well. They used to call him Uncle Mike. So it all tied together in the end.
Yeah. A lot
So
of history.
what are you endeavoring these days? What are you involved in these days?
I'm doing a lot of, I'm continuing to do a lot of writing, but I've got back into acting since our twins we have 4 kids, we raised 4 kids. And since they crossed the finish line of college, I've been able to start getting back into acting now again too. So that's been kind of fun.
Do you have an agent?
I do, BMG Talent.
Hey,
Sounds
you're
like we
on
get an
their
agent.
way then.
Yeah. So
Oh, we no doubt will bump right into you somewhere along the way, since all 3 of us are also actors.
wonderful.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
will be.
hopefully some stuff comes through. I mean, literally just getting started in it until COVID hit. And then it was, as everybody knows, it was rough, and now hopefully it'll all open up again.
It's starting to
It's
now.
opening up wide right now, so
Yeah.
you're in a good position.
Yeah.
Yep, we're going to expand as long as we don't get a variant that knocks us out of the loop again.
Yeah.
Girls, got anything else for John before we
Well,
wind
you
up
don't
this
have to worry about your hair color. So that's a good
No.
thing.
Yeah.
And
What
that's always
type-
helpful because you never know.
What
Right.
type are you? How would you cast him? Sandra, what would you cast him?
Police sergeant.
Yep.
Yeah, for definitely police,
Detectives. Yeah. That's what I get. A lot of detectives, police sergeants. I could be a priest, a judge, a
Okay.
grandfather,
well,
father.
see, and they need all that stuff in all the
Yeah.
shows that they film here in
Yep,
Chicago.
they do.
So
Yeah.
you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You are.
Don't need to be young to make it here because
Yeah.
there's big
Look at
wings.
us.
Yeah.
I mean,
And growing. So yeah.
And growing is right. Yeah. Okay, ladies, I think we're going to wind down here. John, you have anything else you want to add to it?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great to meet all of you. And yeah, maybe we'll run into each other somewhere out there.
I suspect.
but yeah,
we
there's
will.
no maybe about that.
Okay.
Are you going to have a book signing anywhere? Maybe.
Well, right now they're not doing book signings. So actually, I'm
right.
probably going to have to start creating some kind of events to do it. But right now they're not really doing book
Yeah,
signings.
I didn't
so.
think of that. But
Yeah.
you're busy promoting your book, of course.
Yeah, I'm working hard trying to promote it right now. It's starting to catch on. So it's like,
Good.
it's like lighting a fire. It's got to keep at it. So
Hopefully our links will help.
yes, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this show that we record on Sunday afternoons goes live Wednesday at noon on YouTube.
Wonderful.
And we get posted up on Facebook and Instagram during that day. And yep, as I
Oh.
said, Sandy will, yeah.
One more thing, if they want more information about me, they can go to johnruane.net and then purchasing the book, obviously Amazon.com or ask at your bookstores, but johnruane.net is information about me.
Okay, and the parish book will be on there too, right?
Yep, it's on there. Yep.
Okay, good deal.
Bunch of reviews on there with Parish of Thought. Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us, John. This has been, pardon me, extremely interesting, and your life story there, which will go on and on now, maybe in different directions, is just extremely cool. Congratulations on all
Thank you
your
very much. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet
meeting
all of you. Okay.
Before we
go all
leave,
the-
yeah,
Pardon
before
me?
we leave, we need to make our own little announcement.
Yes, we do. Do you want to do that, Sandy? You want me to do it? Up to you.
Daryl kind of sounded like she might want to.
Oh, Daryl, go right ahead.
Certainly. Okay. As of today, this will be our last episode until we begin again in September. We are taking a small hiatus for the summer for no other reason than it is summertime. So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful, safe and healthy summer. And we will see you again come September. So we'll come knocking at your screen. And I hope you'll be there.
Well, and I think that every couple of weeks, check in on our Facebook and Instagram pages because we probably will say hello, remember us. We'll be back in September and maybe post up a couple photos of what we're doing now since people are auditioning and getting bookings. So, as the song goes, see you in
See you
September.
in September.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.